today with Miss Melanie Young, and she's going to talk to us about her books. But first, Melanie, who are you? Who were you before all this? What brought you to this crazy wild journey?
Well, hello everyone, and hello Anne-Marie. It's so great to be here. I have an interesting journey, as anyone. Everybody has a story to tell. Mine is this. I was running a very successful food and beverage, culinary events and marketing agency called M. Young Communications. In fact, I started and launched the James Beard Foundation Awards, which just took place Monday in Chicago. So I had what you would call a very delicious life, traveling the world, drinking great wine, and hobnobbing with chefs from all over. It was really wonderful. And I had about 15 to 20 people working for me and was just go, 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 go. I mean, I was like the New York Sex in the City, go, 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 go. And like many companies, small, we all felt the pinch of the economy crash.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2000, between 2007 and 2008, the good news was I got married. The bad news is I lost 2/3 of my business, like right before my wedding. But the show must go on, so I got married and I have a wonderful husband, but it was very stressful. So about a year after I got married, actually, it was 2 years after I got married, I was traveling. So I rebuilt my business, focusing on wine and cocktails, and I was jet setting around. And it was on a business trip to Italy that I discovered a lump in my breast.
Oh my God. So you were on a trip to Italy, and that's when you discovered the lump.
The business trip, yeah.
And Melanie, I do have to say something. So you were stressed out before. Like, I hear so many women say, I was stressed out and then I found breast cancer. Like,
well, that's what I really want to set up. Yeah, it's my story is this. I am everything you want to be and you don't want to be. I did not put myself first. I did get regular annual mammograms, but I didn't do much else. And as a result, I was very stressed. I was about 20 pounds overweight. I wasn't sleeping. I had allergies. I had rash. I had everything. And I had signs that my body was toxic. I knew it had become toxic. And I sought the help of a nutritionist who put me on all these supplements, which I always wonder about. The lesson in brief is you have to put yourself first. I was better at running a business and managing the health of my business, but not the health of Melanie Young. And when I was diagnosed with stage 2A breast cancer in 2009, the first thing I said is I looked at the journey. How did I get to this point? And what can I do moving forward so I don't go back? I want to get healthy. I want to live smarter. I don't want to be sick again. And then I want to if I succeed, I'm going to show others how to do it because there's too many stressed out women in the world.
That's actually so true because we don't take time for us. We are so busy taking care of everybody else that we just don't take care of us.
Lesson number 1, put yourself and your health first. It's not selfish. It's self-sustaining. If you don't take care of yourself, you won't be there for the people who love you.
Yeah.
So it's giving to yourself first.
Yeah. So then you prevailed, you pushed through, and you came out of your diagnosis and you blogged, which so many of us blog about. And you probably, like myself, looked back and you said, oh my God, people actually read my blog? Because that's sort of what I did. I was like, people are reading this blog? I'm just talking out my ears. But
I was always a writer. I was always a writer.
You're a writer, so it's different. So go ahead.
And I was always a diarist from a little girl. I kept diaries. I was an only child and I would get lost in my stories. So when I was diagnosed, I turned to writing a diary again because I kept my diagnosis private in my professional circles. I was running a company. I didn't want to lose any business after rebuilding it. So I wrote a diary. And from that, I started writing the blog really as a therapeutic it was therapy for me. It was how I could talk. But it also became evolved into something to help other women. And from that blog, getting things off my chest became the genesis of my book, Getting Things Off My Chest. But it took about 2 years from when I first started writing the outline of a book to when I actually got it published. So it didn't happen. It's not an overnight success. But it all started because I believe that if you are going through stress, whether it's breast cancer or anything, find a creative outlet. Find something that calms you and centers you and do it every day. And for me, it was writing.
Yeah, and you did it great. So I have to say one thing that I was saying to you before we came on was you take scans and you dissected them in a way that I was reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, I needed this book. I mean, I should have read this book, because we hear scans and you hear PET scans and you hear MRI and you hear CT scans and you're like, what am I doing? What does this mean? What does that mean? And you broke it down in the beginning part of that book in a non-scary way, in a way that when I would have walked out of a doctor's office, I would have been like, oh my, okay, now I get it.
Well, picture this, Anne-Marie. This is how it is. Think of Getting Things Off My Chest as the Lonely Planet Guide to Breast Cancer Land. And it says you go to Cancer Land. So when you're going on a journey to a foreign place, what do you want to know? You want to know how to prepare. You want to know how to pack. You want to understand the basic terminology so you're not lost and confused. You want to know what to eat. You want to know the best routes to take to have the safest, most pleasurable experience, and you want to know what to deal with and what some of the danger zones are. So when I wrote Getting Things Off My Chest, I wrote it like a travel guide. And so when I talk about scans, that's the language you don't know. You don't know the language of breast cancer till you have it. No. So everything I wrote is just like guiding you through a trip and hopefully taking you through the journey and teaching you ways to not return.
Yeah, and you really do break it down like that, because you go everywhere from wigs to diet, which I think is so important, because let's face it, as women, when we start gaining that weight and we've already lost our breasts, that was hard enough, and now we're gaining all this weight. We want to know how to get rid of it. How are we going to get rid of this weight? What should we do? It's scary. It is scary business.
Well, it is, and remember, I'm a trained and professional food and beverage professional. So diet was really critical, not only in dieting to take care of myself and prevent illness and counter side effects, but also it's my industry. Like, how was I going to go out and eat? I had to figure out how to continue getting out there, but eating healthfully. And in changing my diet and really researching what to eat that would best complement my treatment, which was, ACT, I did Abraxane actually, how to avoid nausea, how to hydrate better. I actually became healthier in the process, and did, knock wood, did not have a lot of difficulties during my chemotherapy. And then, following treatment, it's really important to look at your diet and think, what can I do to be healthy so I don't go back to cancer land?
Right, because
it's very important.
It's so important. But a lot of times, a lot of women leave their cancer center without that information. They don't have a nutritionist there. They don't have doctors that really kind of give them all that information. It's scary business. You leave there and you don't feel great. So to have a book like this is incredible. And I have to keep stressing it again, that you really do. It's like talking to a girlfriend. I felt like it's so funny, because you and I have never chatted before. You are exactly like you are in the book. I feel like, I'm just sitting with a girlfriend. We're just chatting, and you radiate in the book just like you would in person. It's incredible, and I love that, because I'm a reader. I'm not a writer. I'm a reader, and if I don't find myself getting lost in the book, I'll put it down. And I last night I was like, I can't put this down, and I already had breast cancer. It's not like I need to read it. I know everything that's in it, but I was like, this is great. I'm going to use this. And I do want to say that one comment that I just kept resonating with me.
Right.
Be your own definition of beauty.
Right. Yeah, because, it's bad enough you're told you have breast cancer, and then you have to worry about, am I going to live? And then how am I going to pay for it? Because it's a big issue, which I have a big section on paying for it. But then you have to worry about, I'm going to be ugly. I'm going to wither, and, I'm going to lose my hair. And it really does strip you away. And it's really important to center yourself and remind yourself every day that you are a beautiful person inside and out. And I provide, in Getting Things Off My Chest, chapters on skincare, dental care, losing your hair, finding a wig, because being beautiful and feeling beautiful is part of the healing process. It's very important.
I just actually came from my aunt passed away this past week, and she died of breast cancer, and she always had lipstick on. Always had lipstick on. I'm sure on her last days on Earth, she had lipstick on. But she felt good. That's what made her feel good. And if you're so right, we have to do these things to make us feel better. And for some women, it may not be a wig. It may not be a head wrap. Maybe it's whatever. But you're so true to be your
head,
own,
head of your head.
be your own definition of beauty. You have to figure out what that is. 100%
I mean, for
true.
me, it was getting wigs. I had the Rolls Royce, I had the Audi, I had the SUV, I had different wigs for different occasions. Lipstick is important because you lose your eyelashes, your skin. Mine was very sensitive, but lipstick, at least, you can deal with. So I looked at I agree. It's the book I wish I had when I had gone through breast cancer, because I wanted a book that told me how to stay beautiful. There was only one out there, Beauty Girls for Chemo Girls, but that was like one end of the spectrum. Then I also wanted one on food and diet and taking better care of myself. And then I wanted, the basic technological terms. And some of those were kind of depressing. And I wanted one book that was not depressing, that was uplifting, but also was a cut to the chase. Think about Cliff Notes. Remember Cliff Notes in high school?
Yeah.
My book is like Cliff Notes. It's checklists, tips, questions, did you knows, and I interviewed dozens and dozens of survivors who shared their tips, which is why it is a girlfriend's guide. I never used to say, but I also vet every chapter with an expert, so that every chapter had an expert weighing in to make sure I had the facts straight.
And not just that, you just said a couple of things there. I do like to juice. I do like to go the alternative route. I'm all for that. That is not for everybody. That's not everybody's route. But some people just like to eat healthy. You have great tips on just eating healthy, ways to just integrate it into your own diet. Maybe you want to eat that gooey, ooey, mac and cheese that night. How to balance that the next day. And you do a great job of that. And you're right. It's not an overwhelming book. My God, somebody gave me a book, and I can't remember who the author was, but it without exaggeration, it was like this thick. I couldn't even look at it when I was diagnosed.
I couldn't even carry that after a mastectomy.
I can't look at that. That's an incredible book. There's no way I could read that. This is attainable. This is doable. This is something.
Yeah, this is what I feel like. If you can pick it up after you've been, I had really big mobility issues. So my idea is you got to be able to pick the books up. They can't weigh you down. They can't weigh you down physically or emotionally. And many of us, including myself, I had terrible chemo brain. I needed something that was like a checklist. Boom, boom, boom. And that's actually what I did to keep my brain centered, is I created checklists. By creating checklists, I could think. And so those are in getting things off my chest as well. Thinking about that woman who has a short attention span, is tired, their vision may be off. They just don't want to be weighed down with too much information. Cut to the chase. Give me the goods. Give me the facts. I'm going to rip this page out and take it to the doctor and ask these questions.
Melanie, what do you think most women, when they go into treatment, what do you think their biggest fear is about themselves? I know that that's kind of a huge question, but I have a girlfriend who's recently diagnosed. Her thing right now is her hair. She's so freaked out about losing her hair. You think that's
well? I'm going to tell you something, Anne-Marie. Everybody listening, I want everybody to hear this. The biggest thing is the hair. When I went in, I don't like needles. I got through it. My husband was with me first. This is my biggest fear. It was not the hair. I had already wrapped my head around the hair and gotten a wig. What I was totally freaked out about was being toxic. And I'm going to explain how I reframed it, because this is important. I did not want poison in my system, because I was afraid it would do things to me. I saw what it did to my dad, who had cancer. He went cuckoo. I saw what it does. Besides your hair, no one tells you about chemo brain. I'm telling you now, chemo brain's a reality. Here's what you have to do. One of my survivor sisters told me this. It's in the book. You can't go in thinking that you are being poisoned. You can't think about the toxins going in your system. You have to think about what's cleansing your system from the cancer. Chemotherapy is cleaning out your system. Don't think of it as toxic. You got to reframe the term. Otherwise, you'll go nuts. And you'll be so consumed with that.
You're right, because I'm that person. I was the toxin person. I'm like freaked out about it. Like, it freaks me out. Totally freaks me out. My son actually texted me today. The marker I'm using says may cause cancer. Should I still use it? He actually texted me that. I'm like, oh God, he's my child. I'm like, don't use the marker.
There's so many toxins out there, and you're constantly protecting yourself. So that was for me the number one. Second was losing my hair, and no one, and the things nobody tells you about, which I reveal in the book. You lose your eyebrows. Losing my lashes and my brows was like losing part of my face. Like I have expressive eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Your eyebrows
devastating.
and your eyelashes, they don't prepare you for that. Like they tell you about your hair. Some women have hair shaving parties. Like I get all of that, but your eyebrows and your eyelashes go, and women are like, this defines my eyes. Like, what do I do now? It's scary. This is a scary
Well, you get a wig with bangs. You get a wig with bangs. And what I did is I went to a reliable makeup person. I went to a makeup place and I said, I am going to be losing part of my face. Could you please help put it back on? And I got makeup lessons that were right for me. I didn't want to look like, kabuki. And my skin, like many who go through chemo, is very sensitive. So you got to make sure you're, wearing makeup that's right for you. I also had a beautiful wig with bangs, so nobody saw my missing eyebrows. But it is a strange feeling. And when I look back at those pictures, my face was pale with big round red cheeks I got bad rosacea from the Abraxane and this beautiful hair. People would come up to me and go, oh my God, your hair is so amazing. Who does it? I was like, I want to go, you want to borrow it? And then, but I was very careful to do the makeup that made sense for what I needed. So go in and make your makeup artist, make your hair care professional and your wig professional, make your dentist. Go in, I say in the front of getting things off my chest, create your board of advisors. Just, you are CEO of your health. Go and talk.
I love that.
Yeah. Very important. My dentist told me things like, I was afraid my teeth were going to rot. That was another fear because chemo, I've seen it happen.
Mm-hmm. I have too.
Chemotherapy, dry mouth, which is dry mouth creates the sores. When you don't have saliva, it can rot your gums. Well, I was very worried about that. And so I went in and my doctor gave me all sorts of special things out on the products for people going through chemotherapy. And I have a whole section about dental care as a result of that. And it's something you don't think about. And of course, your doctors are not going to tell you that. Your doctors are there to beat and get rid of the cancer in your body. They're not there to tell you how to wear your makeup. They're not there to tell you how to deal with chemo brain. They're not there to tell you how to eat. They're not there to tell you much. I mean, they barely tell me what my side effects would be.
Exactly. And they barely know themselves.
And then like, wow, this hurts. Oh, that's neuropathy. Well, why don't you tell me about it? Well, rubbing your legs is not neuropathy. Explaining that it's bone pain and how to deal with it. But they're not going to do that because that's not their training.
You got it. And the other thing is I think that they think if they tell you it, it'll scare you too much and then you won't fulfill what's going on.
Well, you're scared already. I mean, you're scared already. I mean, I'd rather, personally, I want to hear you. Tell me now.
I agree. I was the exact same way.
And how to do it.
I needed to know everything. And then I felt better. Like when I looked up drains, it scared me more not knowing what a drain was. Once I looked it up and saw what a drain was, then it was like, oh, okay, now I get it. You showed me a drawn picture of a drain, and I was like, what the hell's that? I don't know what that's going to do. But then I saw it.
Well, yeah. What does it feel like when they remove it? And how do you wear clothes around your drains? I mean, that was a big issue. Like I had to go out and work. I stayed home maybe like a week, and then I had to go out, which is, what's it like going out after a mastectomy? You're like this, walking down the street. Right. You can't drive a car. You got to find out, when can I drive a car again? How am I getting around? I mean, I was lucky I lived in New York City. I still couldn't pull myself into a cab. There are so many things you have to think about from a lifestyle standpoint. How do I prepare my house for when I come home from my mastectomy and I realize I don't have arms to get out of bed? So you need like 20 pillows, right?
Got it.
20 pillows.
You got it.
And the drain, the drains you deal with, we ended up kind of comparing them to different colors of wine as they got lighter and lighter. And I went out and bought these great little, peplum like loose thing. But you have to think about that because you can't wear stuff over your head. Yeah. It has to be buttoned down. And if it's winter, maybe you can wear a cape. If it's summer, you're going to wear a little loose thing.
Melanie, a lot of people are naysayers, and they say that this stuff is not important, that there's other things that are more important to breast cancer. And I tend to see their point, but I also disagree because I think that some women, I being one of them, I lost a lot through breast cancer. And one thing that I did lose was a little bit of self-esteem. I watched myself. Right. I watched my shoulders roll forward. I walked around like, looking at my chest. Are they looking at me? My hair, does it look okay? And I was never like that before. I changed a little bit, and it's because of breast cancer and how it affected my body. Your book and the tips that you give in there, everything from the wigs to the diet and the dentistry and all of that, helps build that confidence back up that some women really, really need. They really need this.
I can't even. Most women do. I mean, was I fabulous? No, I was frightened to death about, like I said, aging and becoming. I was 50 when I was diagnosed, 51 going through treatment. I didn't want to suddenly, shrivel up. I didn't like the idea of having hunched over shoulders. I felt it all happening to me, and I had to fight it tooth and nail and really come up with a health management plan. And I was very, I hate to say strategic, but I'm an event planner by profession. So I tackled it like I tackle all my client work.
Sure.
It was just another event I had to get through. And I tackled it that way, like another trip I was planning. And how can I make sure I stay as healthy as possible? We've all been on trips to foreign countries who have been sick, remember? And that's a terrible experience. So how can I best prepare? And how can you? And I think, yes, of course, the most important thing is saving your life, getting rid of the cancer, making sure it does not recur. However, you also want to save the quality of your life.
Yes, and I think as women, we still want to feel really good about ourselves, and we want to, we want to look pretty. We want to look good while we're doing it. And I grew up in a household that if you look good, you felt better. So, if I had on a silk bathrobe while my friends came to visit me, I felt better about myself. If I found a way to, had my drains concealed and I could get out of the house for an hour, I felt better about myself. It made my day go a little bit quicker. I wasn't stuck in the
I used
house.
to dress for chemo. I would dress for chemo. I mean, I'm sure there's people who don't like animal fur, but it was really cold during chemo. I would wear a full-length fur coat, jewelry,
I love it.
Beautiful coat, and go dressed in. I had the dress for chemo. We would do it at 5 o'clock and invite girlfriends. I'd be chemo and cocktails. You have the cocktail, mine's different. And I would, just try to make it more of an occasion versus a dreaded experience. It didn't always work. There was one time I had a pretty bad reaction. I was really glad nobody was around but my husband. But I did it that way to make an unpleasant experience a better experience. And that's what you've got to do. And quality of life is important. It's an important part of the healing process, and keeping your self-esteem and your self-worth up and the value is really important to the emotional healing that you need during and after treatment. And I cannot underscore enough that emotional healing, and you'll agree with me, Anne-Marie, takes 100%. A lot of time.
100%.
A lot of time.
I think our emotional, mental being part of breast cancer is so ignored in our society. It makes me so sad and so upset because it's completely ignored. And I feel like our page, CureDiva, does such an astonishing job of really trying to build that. Our divas at our service are trying so hard to do all of that for women. And I'm so proud to have you on this page and proud to have this book. I'm so glad that we had a chance to chat and to talk about this book, because it is definitely going to be a book that I recommend to everyone that comes on that's newly diagnosed, because now that I've read it thoroughly and I've flipped through it, I see the value in it. It's just, Melanie, it really is a great book. I mean, you've covered every basis.
I believe it.
I just, it's a great book. You did a great job in putting everything that you need in that form. And some women don't want the internet. It's too much for them. And honestly, there's too much there. You start Googling and you're in trouble.
I actually discourage going on the internet because there is too much. And my girlfriend Julie, who sadly did not make it, went on and read about her diagnosis and cried and got scared. When I say it's a good book, I mean it in a positive way, in a humbly way. I put my heart and soul in this book. I don't want to see any woman and their loved ones suffer during breast cancer. I want every woman to understand that it was not her choice to have breast cancer. It's not her fault.
Absolutely.
It happened. Life happens. But you have the right and the choice, after you didn't choose breast cancer, but you have the right and the choice to treat yourself like a goddess, like a diva, and take really good, actually, it's your responsibility to take better care of yourself.
So, we had our
Yeah.
first Diva for a Day event, and at this event, the women got to learn how to put their eyebrows on with a makeup artist, and they got to learn to put their eyelashes on, and they, your book was there, and they flipped through it, and they learned to feel the bras and the robes and all the great products that we carry, and it was such an event, and these women walked away with such an empowerment because they finally understood all the things that they needed to get them through to feel a little bit better and to feel pampered. That's part of it too, is they want to feel pampered. They want to feel good about themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And CureDiva does such a great job. And it's interesting because I get my, purchase orders up here. I keep, boxes of books here, and I autograph them and send them out when I get my CureDiva order. And I got one, and my husband was like, "Why are you rushing to the post office?" And I was like, I think about the woman who's getting this book, and I don't want to have her miss a day of reading it because I know what she's going through, and I want her to know that she has support and she has great packet of information in the book, getting things off my chest that'll help her. So I race to the post office as soon as I can, knowing that I'm helping improve somebody's life.
And what it's so important is for these women to know that you've been there. Like, you didn't just write this book because a girlfriend, had breast cancer and you saw what she went through. You get it. You totally get it.
Yeah, my girlfriend did go through it, and then a second girlfriend went through it, and unfortunately, my first girlfriend did not make it. She was discovered too late because she didn't take care of herself, so she was well too advanced and died way too soon. My other girlfriend, also Melanie, she was diagnosed a year before me, and she was the first call I made. Not my mom, not my husband, my girlfriend Melanie, because I said I need a mentor. So when I wrote Getting Things Off My Chest, I give a nod to Melanie because she came down with a list of questions for the breast surgeon and reconstructive. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And that was the whole genesis of the lists, taking the list that Melanie gave me, which all the doctors like, you're so prepared. And I thought, okay, I want to do something and write something that can help everybody else be better prepared for the trip they're going to be on.
Actually, I'd like to end this with what you just said. You don't just prepare women for the beginning, you prepare them for the end too, because I saw in your book that you kind of encourage women to keep talking about it, because we do know that post-traumatic stress hits us at the end of this. And the end of your book, you really get women to open up and to let it out and to let them, what are those?
Yeah.
I can't, my brain just stopped working because you know how that goes.
Well,
I am done with dwelling on it. This is the one I love. I'm done with dwelling on it. I love that.
I'm done with dwelling. And I just want to point out, Amory, that, I wrote a second book on dealing with setbacks called Fearless, Fabulous You, Lessons on Living Life on Your Terms, also at CureDiva. And the reason I wrote that, it's not only for people who've gone through cancer, but the reason I wrote it is that when I finished treatment, I went through this unexpected post-traumatic stress that no one certainly warned me about, that I say in the front of this book, there was a time in my life where I felt stuck between two worlds.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether the best of my life was behind me or the worst. And I felt stuck. And I got to just say, every breast cancer survivor I talk to goes through that stuck period and that adjustment period. And what I do with Fearless, Fabulous You is take you through 5 steps to reframe what happened to you, reconnect with everything you love about yourself that was stripped away, so that you can live happier and more focused.
And don't you feel like part of that is it's like your brain's catching up with you? Like, wait, what just happened? Oh, wait, that just happened. Now I get it. Like,
it's like going to war. It's like a soldier. You go into battle and you're fighting for your life and you're living and subsisting. And then you get out of it and you're like, you rip off the band after that last treatment and you're like, yay, I'm Rocky. But it's not that fast. There is this period where you're rebuilding your body. You have to really rebuild your mind. And there are studies out there that post-traumatic stress and chemo brain lasts much longer than anyone ever expects.
Sure does. Isn't that the truth? I actually just call it cancer.
You have to get back into the real world,
It's cancer head. It stays in your head for a real long time.
Yeah. And while many people around you heal and they're like, okay, we're glad that's over, let's move on. And that's great for them. They didn't have cancer. You still are dealing. And my mom's like, you got to get over the cancer thing. You got to stop staring. Like, get over the cancer thing, Mom. It's not that easy to get over the cancer thing.
I actually just said to my husband last night, I was like, nobody in my family asked how my MRI was yesterday. He's like, yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but you got to be done with dwelling. Yeah, at one point you got to realize that you can't dwell. You have to take what happened to you, reprocess it, recalibrate, and then move forward in a way that works for you.
Yes.
And that's really important. And number one is do everything you can to stay healthy. That's real. That's your responsibility. Your right is to make choices that are better for you, to make you happy and not stressed. Yeah, it's really important.
You know what else, Melanie, that I do love about your book? You never said that any of that's gonna prevent me or cure me from getting cancer. You just said it's gonna better my health. And I love that because I get, all the time, it's not gonna prevent me. It's gonna better my health.
And there's listen, we don't know what's going to happen. We all live, ghost of, I'm BRCA2 positive. Lord, I could get something. You can't live with that. You can't say prevent either because you just can't. What you reduce your risk. Reduce your risk for heart disease, cancer, stroke, everything. Reduce your risk. Live better. Live smarter.
I love that. That's what I love. And it was all about bettering your health because that's huge. It's huge. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. And I look forward to more Melanie Young books coming out. And when we have a Diva for a day near you, I hope you're going to come and sign some books for us.
I would be honored.
I would absolutely love that. I would love that. So thank you so much for joining us in the lounge today.
My pleasure. Bye, Divas.